Alright guys, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be seeing if this H22 has compression. That'll just give us a good idea on if anything's majorly wrong with the motor straight up. So that'll be good, and then later on we'll be tidying up and redoing the wiring harness for it, so that electrically it's ready to drop into the car when we get around to that. But yeah, I think that's all for now, so crack on, hook it up and just make sure I can get the starter turning over, and then we'll pull out the spark plugs. Alright, so from the Prelude we just got the positive and negative coming through some jumper leads. Negative straight onto the body of the H22, and then the positive is hooked up to the constant positive to the starter motor. Now we'll just bridge between the activator here and the positive, and that should flick the starter motor on, and hopefully the motor turns over freely. I've turned it over by hand and felt that there's a bit of compression and whatever else, but hopefully when we put a bit of power to it, it'll turn over, and then when we put the compression test on we should get some good compression results. Hopefully we're looking for, I think, 180 or 200 or something. Maybe it could be higher than that on this because it's pretty high compression, but as long as everything's consistent I'm happy, so we'll see what we can do. Got cylinder 4 spark plug, that's what that looks like. Cylinder 3, cylinder 2, and cylinder 1. It's not too bad, I don't think. They all look fairly the same, all similar, so that's a good sign. So what's that? We got about 140 on that. That's better than what we had, so yeah, we'll move on. We've got 145 now, so that's better again. 145 again. Alright, we got 145 again, so yeah, we got about 140, 145 PSI across all of the cylinders. Alright, so I don't know if I correctly really explained what I was doing before. For you who don't know, I was just doing a compression test on the motor so we can gauge an idea on the health of that H22 I've got to put in my Prelude. Pulling out all the spark plugs, they all came out and they all looked fairly similar, like condition, all had the same amount of black and whatever else on them. I don't really know what I was looking for in the spark plugs, but they were just all consistent, which I know is a good thing. The compression test, I was expecting results around 180 or whatever. That's what I'd heard was good, anywhere between like 160 and like people say, anywhere between 160 and 220 on these motors is good, and obviously that's all just different compression testers and whatever else. Even across all of these cylinders I got around the 145 mark, so that's pretty, it's good that it's consistent. It's lower than I had hoped, but that could just be that compression tester. So just to see what it's like, I know I've got a good healthy running F22 motor. I know it's a lower compression non-VTEC version, but it should give me a good idea on whether that compression tester is reading around the right pressure rating, if you know what I mean. So we'll do a quick compression test on one of those cylinders and just see where we're at. Yeah, well, yeah, 75 on cylinder 1 on this motor. Alright, so since I did the last compression tests on the VTEC motor with the throttle open, I've spoken to a mechanic, and he said the compression results are good. He said they're consistent and whatever else, and he said once that motor's actually running, cylinders will be a bit more lubricated and oil will be around the ring, so it should actually build a bit more pressure then. But with the compression test result on the other motor, he sort of said it shows that gauge is reading low, so I'm taking it as a great sign, a big win. So that motor will be well, I'll do some gaskets and timing belt and whatever else on it, but basically I don't need to tear it down. I don't think. I'm gonna just plop it in and see how it goes. Hopefully it works. But yeah, anyway, now we'll crack on with the wiring harness. I don't really know what I have and what I don't have with the harness, but we're just gonna make a start and see what's there. Alright, so there's the two harnesses that I got with the motor. This one here, it looks like they've sort of chopped into and tried to make nice and pretty or something at some point, but they sort of gave up and there's a bunch of wires cut and dodgy stuff done to it, so I think I'm just gonna leave that one alone. This one here sort of looks all OEM. There's two wires that are cut at a plug, I guess. I don't know what they are, but other than that, it all looks original. So we're just gonna probably go through, clean it up and tidy it up. The only thing different between this engine harness and the one on the Prelude with the non-VTEC is just the wires for the VTEC. So if I'm not mistaken, that is this little plug here that plugs into the VTEC solenoid, and then down this end where it all plugs into the car, this here is the other end of the VTEC solenoid that links it up to the ECU, or jumps into the body harness anyway. So if this harness turns out that it's too complicated and messed up, I can just add that one wire, I believe, from the VTEC solenoid down to the ECU, but it's just more of a pain. But I just got to find as well if the VTEC wire or whatever is in this lot of plugs that goes to the ECU, or if I'm going to have to wire that part in as well. But yeah, anyway, first of all, just going to label each plug and where they belong, so I can gauge an idea of you know, where everything needs to sit, and I'll touch base with you guys after that. Well, I've got the harness run in on the motor. I think all the plugs are in about where they're meant to be. It's a little bit confusing because I don't have the plugs that are on the car, or because this has got the skunk intake, which I am replacing with a standard one because this one's cracked. There's no vacuum hoses or any of the vacuum sensors, so I think all the plugs, all the important plugs anyway, are where they need to be. So I'll just start labeling everything with a bit of tape, and then I'll pull it all off and should have a fair idea of what I need to do to make it look nice. Alright, so I didn't end up labeling all the plugs because it's kind of self-explanatory when you lay it out in the car. There's a few plugs that don't have a home, but that I think is due to all the vacuum lines and stuff and some sort of sensors that'll be on the car itself, not on the motor. So yeah, I just sort of thought I'll figure it out as I'm plugging it in later. You guys might be able to tell me in the comments if you know. I have here two wires that I can't find a home for, and yeah, I got no plug for it. So it's a yellow and blue wire and a green and yellow wire. I've got to spend a bit of time online looking that up to see if I can find anything about it, but yeah, harness looks a lot more presentable now. It's all, I cleaned it up and rewrapped it all, so it's nice and shiny and clean. But yeah, that's all for today's video. So thanks for watching, guys. If you liked, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. But yeah, thank you.